Do you have seeds that do not germinate properly, seedlings that do not grow well, seedlings that become too tall or leggy? You have to provide perfect conditions to grow strong seedlings, and it is easy to do so. After watching this video, you'll be a professional at growing seedlings. So let's start with the first step, and that's to have the right growing medium.
Now, the growing medium also plays a crucial role in the germination rate of your seeds as well. Now, throughout the experience of gardening for 16 years, I've come up with the best growing medium to start your seedlings. Now, when I first start my seeds, I use a growing medium that's composed of 70% potting soil, 20% coconut coir, and 10% compost. Potting soil is light and helps the roots to grow. Coconut coir retains moisture, and 10% compost provides enough nutrients for seeds to germinate and start growing into seedlings. And also, the best way to fill your trays is to have all your potting soil in a tote, put your tray inside the tote, and scoop the potting soil right on top of your tray. And any excess potting soil will grow right back into the tote, and your tray is ready. So if you use this composition of growing medium, your germination rate will increase substantially. Now, the very first thing you want to check when you're starting your seeds is to check the viability of seed. Every seed packet by law has to have a year printed on the seeds in which you can germinate and grow your seeds. Now, there are certain seeds that you can get away with even with growing older seeds. So let me break that down. So any vegetables where the seeds are very small, such as lettuce, carrots, you want to grow the seeds in which they are meant for the same year, fresh seeds. Seeds that are a little bit bigger, such as tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, okra, you can even grow them if they're 2 years old. And seeds that are bigger, such as squashes and pumpkins and even cucumbers and watermelons, I have grown those seeds that were 3 to 4 years old as well. However, it's always good to start with a fresh batch of seeds so that you know that your seeds will germinate. And a lot of the seeds companies also put the germination rate on their package as well. So this one has a 98% germination rate and the date it was last tested. Now, I've already had all of these trays filled with a grain medium and stacked in December. Now let me grab one of these and let me put them on heat mat right next to the window, and let's plant those seeds. Now this tray is a little bit dry, so first we are going to moisten up the growing medium. It's really good to have consistent moisture in your growing medium to germinate seeds well. Today I'm starting some okra seeds, so let's make a little space in our cells to plant these seeds. And I plant about 2 seeds in each cell just in case one of them does not grow. I have insurance and I can thin them later. This way none of the space in the cells go to waste. Then I use any kind of bottle that fits in these cells to press down on the growing medium. This way most amount of growing medium will be in touch with the seed, and that's what you want. You want that seed to get all the contact from the soil so that it gets enough moisture and nutrients to start growing. I then take some coconut coir and then sprinkle some coconut coir right on top of these cells. Now this is very important. Coconut coir is very good at retaining moisture, and there's one more thing it does, and that's coming up later as well. I then press it down one more time and the seeds are ready to grow. Now let's talk about those perfect growing conditions. Now the seeds like perfect conditions to start germinating and grow into a seedling. Now the 2 things that they really like when they start to grow is heat and humidity. Believe it or not, light is not very important when trying to germinate seeds. They like the warmth, especially lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants. All of these summer vegetables that are not really frost hardy, they love warmth. So the best way to provide warmth to your seedlings is to use heat mats. Now I put these heat mats under my trays, and these heat mats keep a constant temperature of 70 degrees, which is 21 degrees Celsius. And this temperature is the perfect temperature for seeds to germinate and seedlings to grow. Now, if you are using heat mats, you have to check your trays every single day because the heat from the heat mat can dry out your trays very quickly. It's been 2 days since I watered, and look at this tray that's not on heat mat. It's still moist. However, these trays on heat mats are already beginning to dry up, so it's time to water again. Now you can use this probe to automatically shut off the heat mats if the temperature rises too high. So I have it right in one of the cells. As you can see, it's maintaining 70 degrees Fahrenheit constant temperature, which is 21 degrees Celsius. Now, using heat mats is not always needed. If you're starting your seeds indoors right next to a window and your house is already at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21 degrees Celsius, you have the house heat on and your entire house is insulated, you really don't need heat mats in that case. You already have the proper amount of heat that you need to grow your seeds into seedlings. Now, the only thing that you need in that case is humidity and moisture. Now, the best way to create humidity is to use a humidity dome. However, not all vegetables require a humidity dome. Now, there are certain vegetables that love humidity and there are others that don't. A rule of thumb, any leafy greens or any vegetables that are cold hardy or you want to grow them in spring, such as cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, leafy greens such as lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, all of these love humidity. However, if you're starting your summer vegetables such as tomatoes, okra, chilies, eggplant, all of these vegetables, even if you're starting them in January and February, they do not need the humidity dome to create excess humidity for germination. Now here's a neat tip. I use a clear spinach container to lock in the moisture and create humidity to start my seeds such as lettuce, kale, and Swiss chard. And this works really well to lock in all of that moisture and create up to 99% humidity for the seeds to germinate. So check that video out if you're interested as well. This is a fail-safe method to start your leafy green seeds. Now, if your seeds are viable, you can absolutely achieve over 97% germination rate.
It takes about 3 to 14 days for the seeds to germinate, depending on the type of seeds you're growing. Next, you want to pay really close attention to watering your seedlings.
Now, you want to keep your seedlings moist at all times. You don't want to waterlog your seedlings and you don't want them to dry out either. The consistency of the potting mix should be equal to a wrung-out sponge, which is not too wet and not too dry either. So, how do you achieve that? Well, that's where adding that layer of coconut coir on top comes in very handy. Let me show you. Now, I watered these seedlings yesterday and they seem to have enough moisture and I can see that the growing medium is still wet. Now check this out. This was watered day before yesterday and the coconut coir on top starts to dry out, and it's very easy to see coconut coir when it dries out because it turns light brown, and that's when you want to water again. There's some cells that have some moisture, but there are a lot of cells that are beginning to dry out. So let's add some water. Well, here's another bonus tip. When I water my seedlings, I use lukewarm water. Just lukewarm to touch, about 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 36 degrees Celsius. You don't have to be too specific, just a little bit warm to touch. That keeps the seedlings warm and helps to increase the germination rate as well. Usually your tap water is about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 12 degrees Celsius. And if you water your trays with cold water, the heat mass will have to do extra work to heat up your trays and consume extra electricity as well. So watering your trays with lukewarm water not only saves electricity, it also helps you germinate your seeds faster because there aren't any fluctuation in temperatures and the potting soil remains warm. So using lukewarm water does wonders.
Next, seedlings need proper light. Now, you may have seedlings that are too stretched out or tall, called leggy seedlings. In order to understand why seedlings are leggy, we have to understand how plants work.
Now, plants love sunlight. That's how they draw their energy from photosynthesis. So when seedlings grow, they're looking for the light. And if there's not enough light, they're going to stretch to find that light. And that's what makes the seedlings leggy. Now, if you want to have seedlings that are healthy and strong, you have to provide them with enough sunlight. Now, we think if we put the seedlings by the window 2 to 3 hours a day, that's enough sunlight. That is not. In nature, plants are looking for at least 8 hours of sunlight. So you have to make sure you give them enough sunlight so they grow big and strong, and this is how I do it. Now, I love to grow my seedlings right next to a window so I don't have to buy grow lights and I don't have to spend money on electricity to run grow lights. So I have a shelf that's movable and I fill all the shelves with seed starting trays. Now, when it's really cold outside or when there's not sun out, I just leave them right by the window indoors. On the days it's nice and sunny outside, I just move my entire shelf out in the sun and all of my seedlings enjoy natural sunlight. This way, I don't have to spend money on artificial lighting. At night, I just move the entire tray back into the garage. Once you give them natural sunlight, they will never be leggy. Now, this system works really well and you can put 4 trays on each shelf and you can have 5 shelves. You can grow 20 trays. Now, that's a lot of seedlings for a home gardener to grow. If you want to grow more, you can just add another shelf. Now, if you're growing your seeds by the window, another thing I do is rotate my trays. This way, the seedlings are not leaning one way. They always self-correct the other way to catch the light. Now, this is because plants always follow the light. So if light is coming from one side, the seedlings will lean that way. So if you rotate your trays, the seedlings will grow straight and strong. Now, if you're bringing your seedlings outside, always keep a close eye on your tray and check your trays at least once or twice a day to make sure the potting soil in your tray is not drying out. Always keep a constant moisture in your trays. Now, if you're in a part of the world where you don't get too much natural sunlight from January to March to grow your seedlings, you can use grow lights. Now, if you absolutely have to use grow lights and if you have no other option, this is what you can do. This is ordinary workshop light, and this produces 4,000 lumens, and this is a day light, which is what plants like. You just have to make sure you have at least 2,000 lumens, and guess what? This produces a lot of light. You can grow up to 8 trays under this light, and this is very inexpensive, and this is LED light, so it also consumes very less electricity. Now, another thing you can do to make your seedlings stronger is to subject your seedlings to wind or forces of nature. Wind or forces of nature will naturally harden your seedlings and make them stronger. Now, if it's not too windy in your area, or you cannot bring your seeds outside, you can use a fan or even a USB fan to create enough airflow to make your seedlings stronger. Now, the biggest reason the seedlings fade away or don't do well or get stunted, even if you provide them with enough light, is because of nutrients. After the seedlings grow to about 2 to 3 inches, you have to provide them with enough nutrients for the seedlings to keep growing and become stronger. And the way I do it is I use a very low fertilizer. It's a 442, very slow releasing fertilizer. I soak it in water and then I water my plants this way. You can also use compost tea to do so. I have a separate video on how you can turn your kitchen waste into compost tea, and you can use this compost tea to water your plants every single day. The NPK nutrient ratio of this compost tea is very low. It's like 1:1:1. So you don't have to worry about burning your plants with compost tea.
If you follow these techniques, you can grow strong and healthy seedlings. Now, if you want to turn your kitchen scraps into compost tea, check out this video and I'll see you in another video.